It's Greg Kinnaird here from Corporate Learning Solutions, and I'm here today with Sonja Magnusdottir, who is with HR Monitor, and they're a employee engagement software specialist in Iceland, in Reykjavik. And so Sonja, welcome to our session today.
Thank you, Greg. Nice to see you.
Yes. So our plan is over the next 20 minutes is just to have a professional, international, global conversation about all things employee engagement. And maybe we can start with telling us a bit of background on the organization, HR Monitor, and maybe some of your background as a HR professional specialist.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. Well, HR Monitor was established about 10 years ago. And it was because our developers and owners, they really saw the need for regular employee engagement surveys. So it's quite common that companies just did it once a year, if at all. And they really thought, okay, well, we are all looking at, different things in the companies, like finances and environmental things, sales and marketing, this. Yes. But we are never looking at HR the same way. It's always just something we do on the side, but we really need to look at it more often. Yes, and just basically part as everything else, finances, the core business, we need to look at HR as well. So they developed this software, and the software gives you the opportunity to do measurements monthly if you want to, but you can choose your own rhythm. So for some, monthly is great, but some say, okay, this is way too much. Do it every 3 months, 6 months. How you want it.
Whatever fits within the business.
Whatever fits, exactly.
Yeah.
And we do a lot of consulting as well. We are based in Iceland, and it's an Icelandic company, but we are also in the US. So we are in Palo Alto. Mm-hmm. And we really see that the companies are changing their mindset quite a bit, the managers and leaders, going from this once a year, and this is hard and this is heavy, and we have hundreds of questions, and people are quite, are not too happy to be part of this because it's quite long survey. So we do this more often and shorter, and it becomes lighter and just part of the rhythm and the company culture.
And that's the interesting thing about HR Monitor is if I think back when I worked in HR, it used to be spreadsheets, and then it used to be not online, but it used to be hyperlinked, and it's just very hard to distribute the surveys, and it's also very hard to extract the data out of the surveys. But looking forward, if I look at the trends of Deloitte's research, looking at the human capital surveys, even Ernst & EY, you're looking at their future of work surveys, human analytics is going to be the big driver. So not only is it about the data, but certainly when it comes down to the real world practices of HR, it's about the conversation. It's not about the justification, it's about the conversation of how do you get leaders involved. And one of the things, Sonja, that we did with our HR global community is we asked people, like, what are the big issues? And the big issues that were coming out of it was leadership EQ, which is really about leaders understanding themselves and their people. The other one was around employee engagement. And the third thing was around performance management. So the key aspect around performance management wasn't the system, it was really about the conversation. And the way that I see it is that if companies aren't doing these pulse surveys, then how can they have the conversation? Is that what you're finding as well?
Absolutely. I completely agree. And you see that the conversation is just so important. And if you're just taking time once a year, what can you imagine what gets lost? And talking now where people are not even in the same building anymore, people are all over working from home, doing sessions like this, but you don't really know what's happening in all their lives. And COVID has, taken a toll on everyone, and that affects the workplace as well. Yes. So yes, definitely. And we do, and this fits all very well together. We do need to have the conversation, but people also need to get the opportunity to say what they really think and feel anonymously. So without the possibility of being tracked, I can say how I feel, how the workload is, if my performance is good from my point of view. And then from this data, which is also very easy and accessible, we can have a face-to-face conversation and see where that leads us.
Exactly. And the interesting thing is, even the research out of EY and their future of work, they look towards 2030. And if I think about COVID has just basically crashed that timeline. That 2030 is now here in 2020, or in our case, it's 2021. And in March 2020, we did our own global survey just around COVID and what was happening. So at that point, people were working from home. And what we found was that people more than ever had access to their leaders, but the gap was about the quality of the relationship that people had with the leaders. And even now, 12 months after that, people are wanting leaders that are more empathetic. And so and then also out of that, you're getting changing demographics, like global changes in demographics of aging workplace population starting to exit the workplace. You've got younger millennials coming into the workplace. The value systems of the workplace is really starting to change. So the new value systems are really around conversation, respect, engagement, collaboration.
Exactly. And this generation, I mean, the millennials, I mean, they kind of expect, and they want this conversation. They want to get feedback. They want to get the chance to speak up. And so they're putting also pressure on this. And I feel this is also part of it. So there are many elements moving companies, as you said, to the next level, technology-wise, but also in regards to this conversation, to the conversations in the workplace, that we are looking this at a team. And we are also talking so much of doing this together in COVID. I mean, it's never just the one that can do it. We see it. We always have to stick together to get things done. And this is the same. We have to put it into the company culture as well. We as a team will want to improve our workspace. It's not just you, the leader, have to do something about it. Yes, we can do it together. Yeah.
And definitely in this agile, collaborative environment, work is no longer a place that we go to. Work is what we do. It doesn't matter where we are. So here I am, Western Australia. What's the time now? 5 p.m. Here you are in Iceland, in Reykjavik. What time is it now for you?
It's 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. Hey, look, you could be over here and I could be over there, but it's totally seamless. So let's talk a bit now about the HR world, and maybe some of the challenges and the pain points that you found with HR professionals just trying to get engagement. I know from a practical experience, what I found was that as a senior advisor, organizational development specialist doing employee engagements, I was resource poor, time poor, support poor. In regards to that, but are you finding that's the same? What are some of the pain points that HR professionals are facing?
So I completely agree. It's always the question of time. You always need to find the best and the easiest solution, of course, because you need to spend your time well. You do resources. I mean, in Iceland especially, you're always looking for good people, and there's never enough good people. You always need to have some more. So yes, you need to be aware that you don't want your good stuff to look elsewhere. So exactly, you need to do something to keep them and to do a good job and to provide the job security, job satisfaction. And for the HR professionals, I mean, you always have now the big change. People are coming back to work. So this is, of course, a big chance. First of all, everybody's up to date now in considering the technology. Great. Yeah. Then the next question is, what do we do with our workspace? Will we do it the same? Is everybody coming back to their desk, to their computer, or are we changing it a little bit? And now we really see, the working from home will be a part of the future. Yeah. So many companies are saying, we have to do kind of a system or structure around that. So how do you want to see that? Will there be one day a week where people can be at home? Do we need to have everybody at the same time in the office for some days? So these are new challenges. But they really see that, of course, in employee engagement questions, where you can really choose your own questions, adapt your own questions. This is what they use it for. How do you see this in the future? You know, get ideas from the workers.
Yes.
And of course, how have you really been feeling at home? You know, do you have everything you need at home, you know, to do a good job? What is about the access to your managers? As you said, the relationships. Yeah. Are we still good? Do we need to make changes? So it's a quite new environment for HR professionals.
For many organizations, exactly.
Yeah.
Particularly if they're still trying to build and maintain the culture. So I know that with the work that I do, which is around the learning and development space with leadership development and team development, organizations are using Zoom sessions as Zoom training sessions as an engagement piece in regards to that. So if people are working from home, at least they're all together. So although we're talking about the specific topic of the day, which might be around, I don't know, resilience and change, we're also mindful of how do we build this community so that people feel connected within the workplace. So if I think about the organization that you're with, if I think about the software platform, that you have, how does it actually work? So if a company, can you maybe cite a case scenario of an organization that is using it? How would a company typically sort of roll out an engagement process? And then maybe we can talk through yours so that I can build the relevance to our audience.
So maybe I can just show you
okay. All right.
the system, how it works.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so I will share my screen and I will just walk you through how a company would use it, because it's very easy, and it's of course the main goal for us is that we make it accessible and easy to use so that companies will use it and increase, of course, their environment, better it. So you log in to our homepage and you see here everything you need. So this is basically the report from your last measurement.
Yeah.
So we do always, in this system, we ask always 9 questions. It's only 9 questions. So we have 8 multiple choice questions and 1 open-ended questions. And for the multiple choice questions, we have different categories that you see here. So we have all the basics, because this is a academic research based, of course. So we do, and we see these are the categories that are really needed to provide a good environment.
Like a performance and engaged working environment. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So you have client relations, you have job satisfaction, you have empowerment, support from managers, high standards, long-term orientation, enthusiasm, commitment and respect, and training and development. So all of these different categories show you then the whole over performance of the company. And for each of these categories, we have different kinds of questions that asked from different point of views.
Yeah.
And I will show you a little bit here, but I will go through. The first thing that a company has to do is put in the hierarchy or the company chart. So you can look at different teams.
So this could simply come from the organizational chart.
Absolutely.
Actually, I find that in reality, often organizational charts are out of date. Or do you find that's an issue? Like, as in, do you find that you need to go into the organization to go, okay, let's double check. Do we have the reporting lines of the right people reporting to the right people?
Actually, it's a really good point, because, this is also, of course, because if you are the person responsible putting this information in, you double check yourself. You're looking at, okay, is this really what makes sense for me? Is this really what I need to look at? But you have the flexibility, because this is your tool. I'm not supervising it. I'm not looking at it per se. You can just put in what fits for you, and that can be just team ABC or whatever you would like to do. And from that point on, and we've seen it a couple of times, that as soon as you put this in, the organizational chart will change if they have to. Yeah, they'll pull the gaps and say, okay, look, this doesn't make any sense anymore. You have to change it. And you kind of...
No, go ahead, Sonja.
Yeah, because it's exactly, because you have a chart that you never really look at, that doesn't, that's not part of your daily working routine. But as soon as you have to look at it again, you say, okay, wait a minute, maybe we do need to change it, which is really good. You always need to double check.
In Singapore, they have a term that's called GIGO. I don't know if they have that in Iceland.
No.
Garbage in, garbage out.
Oh.
Right, GIGO. So that if you don't have it set up at the beginning, then whatever you have at the beginning is what you're going to have at the end. And so I'm a big one about having quality structures in place before implementation. And I'm just wondering, so typically when people sort of roll out employee engagement systems, are you finding that there's usually, and I know it depends on how big the company is, do you tend to find it's a team of people that are implementing this, or do you tend to find there's one major stakeholder who's then trying to engage across the workplace?
We really would like to see a whole team of it, but it depends on the company size, of course, and the setup of the company. If you have a whole HR department, you definitely have more than one. Some only have one people. It doesn't really matter, but we say, okay, if you can engage more managers to do this as a team, great, because you can, it's not supposed to be on the shoulders of just HR. You can activate all the middle management, for example.
Yes.
And you can really just put in all the management that you want to, let's say you have, let's see.
Well, see, I think that's the trick, to be honest. I think it's not so much about the system or the methodology. I think it's the fact of, is the organizational development person, the HR person, whatever their job title is, who's responsible, are they using this as a vehicle of engagement in order to get the workplace across the different business units involved? Because I find that if that happens at the front end as well, then when it starts to be implemented, then there's less pushback, but also too, there's a higher level of trust in regards to what is this for? Like, is it going to be used for good or for evil, right?
Exactly, exactly.
So then it's about getting that communication piece of, you know, this is for good, this is for the good. It's going to help you with your career, your job satisfaction, your whole engagement. It's not a judgment process based on who we're going to hire and fire. But it's amazing how many systems, when it's not communicated at the front end correctly, then people get very defensive, and then you find lower response rates.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and exactly. I mean, this is a tool for managers. This tool alone will not do anything. You know, you have to have people, you know, communicating it right. As you said, you know, people have to know, what is this about? Why should I be part of it? And let's say you are in charge. You can put all the middle managers, whatever people you think need to be part of the system and have access here, and decide how much can they do, how much do they see.
Oh, right.
So you can do quite a bit of organization within the managers, but then the managers take on with their own team and continue. And of course, we want people to not only to take part, but also get the results back and hear something about it. You know, you have to see the triangle as an employee as well. But the way you introduce the report is, of course, up to the management and to the companies. And there are many different ways how they introduce this. You know, some really just send it by email, some take it up on a Teams chat, and talk to people one-on-one about it. So it's very, you know, we see all kinds of different approaches here.
Yeah, I'm finding, and you've probably seen this as well, that the traditional mid-year review and the traditional end-of-year review is diminishing in workplaces. And I'm finding it's not about the numbers anymore. It's about the conversations around that. And so I see that a lot of organizations still have that transition, but the key message is about, as a manager, as a leader, it's your responsibility to connect with people. And what I find that this type of tool does is it gives the opportunity to at least have the discussion.
Absolutely.
Based on the reality, because like Sigmund Freud says that an individual's reality is their perception. And so, well, what's the reality of the employee? That a leader might think they're communicating enough, but if the employee doesn't think that, well, that's the reality.
Exactly. And we see it all the time. I mean, it's a group of people that is always happy to share everything. But there's a whole other group of people that really isn't comfortable of sharing things face to face. So the leader quite often doesn't always get the whole truth. It always gets a part of the truth. And people, say some things to the leader, but think very different things. So you need to give them, a channel where they can just, say what they feel and what they think without the possibility of being traced. And, and that's very important as well. And then you see, and this is of course also because you're tracking different managers, maybe, manager A and B, and the results are completely different. Why? What's happening? And this is of course because this goes on and on. If the employee has job satisfaction, is happy, does well, it will go over to the clients. The clients are happy, we connect, and of course, at the end of the day, it's all about money as well for companies. So of course we want to increase, money coming in and the finance side of it. So this is all part of it.
And the business risk is if the good ones go, then the question is, what are you left with? You're fundamentally left with the bad ones, right? And they're just harder to manage and there's more conflicts. But also too, if the good ones go, the other risk is if they go to opposition, if they go to competitors, then all of a sudden this seesaw effect of business advantage has just disappeared. Okay, so just to summarize, we're up to set up the structures, set up the hierarchy. You've got the 9 criteria, work out the questions, where I think you said there's a bank of questions. So those questions that are part of the bank, are they researched? Are they already validated? So me as a HR person, I don't need to worry about the robustness and the validity of these questions?
No, exactly. So we have a database of 500 questions in the system. 400 of those 500 are academic research questions. You always have the opportunity to add your own questions. And of course, with all the change that has been, COVID related, many of our clients have put in their own questions. When that happens, it goes through a specific validation process within our company. And if we value the question, if we say, okay, this is value for other clients, we do put it in as well. So you will get some COVID related new questions here as well. And then of course, again, you have this flexibility. So you have the really questions that are academic, but you can change them. You can add, change the wording. If you feel like you want to ask something specific about your company, you can always do that.
Cool.
You see that some already have some, possibilities here, and it's company organization. Sometimes you have group
variation,
variation possible. You see when the question was used last time. So here 5 months ago, I already used this question. Now I would like to use a different one. This is also to give you the opportunity to do exactly the same questions once a year or every 6 months. So you have, and this is again, there needs to be this set of flexibility for each manager, for each company. And of course, if you say, gosh, I don't have time to read through 500 questions, which we usually don't have, you let the system choose. You can just go over, is this relevant for me and my company? Do I want to change something? I can do that always. And that's it. There's a default date. You can change it. Of course, it depends a little bit if all workers are working on an office, or if it's different, you want to have maybe a little bit more time, you can choose it. You can choose the time when it's sent out to the workers via email. The system sends out reminders While you haven't answered the survey, you get a reminder and the managers get a report. So, okay, 100 people have answered the survey. Of course, that's all you see. We have good connections here over Workplace. So it's quite easy also to answer this survey on your phone, for example, on the go. It's very easy. You can change the language here to the side. So it's in 8 languages right now. And this is, of course, always in development. So pretty soon we have 10. And of course, multiple choice questions, you are very quick to answer, which is also key if you have these shorter and more frequent surveys. It doesn't take a lot of your time.
No, and I'm thinking the last employee engagement survey I did, we tried to keep it economical with 43 questions. 43
exactly,
questions.
Yes.
And then the issue was we had white collar professionals as part of the business, and we had blue collar skilled people, but not everybody had access to computers. Plus, also too, they had different work functionalities, and we had day shift, we had night shift. We had remote workers, we had city workers, and we needed to, I just wish I had this type of system back then, because my life would have been so much easier. Exactly.
And this is really what our life is about here at this company, just make it easy, because everybody, the HR professionals will agree, you need this data, you need to have, you need to know what's going on.
Yeah.
For everyone in the organization, you just need to have good data. And this is really what we want to do, to give people, not something that is too heavy, too time consuming, too, heavy work. It's supposed to be light, easy access, and just, easy to understand. Of course, we have the multiple choice. We have the five answers you can choose. You have the scoreboard here for the different divisions. You can look at it, and of course it's easy to look at because it's in the colors. If you're not used to looking at numbers like this, you just look at the colors.
Light system,
exactly. The red ones. Okay, what's happening? So, why is it all red?
Yeah. So okay. Okay, I'm going to ask you a few questions. Might put you on the spot, right?
Please. Okay.
So I want to, and this is, and I suppose I'm just going to draw upon your observations to what you're finding out there in industry, is that so an organization might do employee engagement surveys, but then it's about the workplace may not trust what the system is going to be used for, so hence the lower response rates and all those types of things. What's the best way that you've found for organizations to overcome that whole issue? Because what I find is that companies say, yes, we need to ask our people, but because there's already a lack of trust, and I'm thinking about Lencioni's leadership model, that if you don't have trust, you have nothing. That, if companies trying to implement this type of model, but there's already that gap to start with, what are some of the successes on how to overcome, how to successfully implement this type of system?
The implementation, as you say, in the companies is very important, and the management does need to take the time or the effort to explain, of course, what is the system for. And a few times we come in as consultants as well to introduce it. Okay, what is the software? What is it about? And it's the biggest thing we feel is that it's not traceable. And that is for sure. And we have this European, the new laws here for the personal data protection.
Yes,
and we are very, this is a very big thing for us. So first of all, you can trust the system. It's not traceable. The second, of course, the managers, when they take in a survey, an employee engagement survey like this, they can expect all kinds of colors here. And some managers are very afraid to see that everything will be red, and this can be the reason that they don't take in a
But already
that
says a lot about them, doesn't it?
It does.
Already, doesn't it?
It does, exactly.
Yeah.
But this is like the initial shock. But the thing is, this is what we see. If the gap is here, you know, then this will be red, and the managers will have a shock and say, okay, what's happening now? And they don't want to see this. This is a reality check. But then again, you have to be prepared for it. And people, of course, if they say, you know, I don't really trust this. But the thing is, the people that take part in these surveys, it's always first the ones that are very negative, that have the trust issues, that are really just, you know, have conflicts. They want to speak up. They want to tell you about it. But also the ones that are very happy, the ones that are positive about most of the things happening in the company. So you have the highest and the lowest. And the ones who are in the middle, they might take part, they might, you know, skip it because they don't have anything to say what they feel is important.
Yes.
Which is fair enough. But we also see, and thankfully our software has quite high numbers and engagement. So we have a good track record. But as
I think it shows something like an 80% response rate.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And that's, of course, because it's short, but also if it needs to be implemented right. And then if people see there's a rhythm to it, oh, I'm getting this now. I also get the report. We are doing something with this. And then 3 months later, oh, I'm getting this again. Yeah, okay. So it will be part of the culture. It will be part of, this is what we do here to improve our workplace.
And I've seen some organizations, a bit like Pavlov's dog, is they associate a reward for completion of the survey. So for each person that completes the survey, the name goes into a company raffle or a draw. And then with that, they then get a gift or something similar to that. Do you find that happens as well?
So it's actually not so much anymore. It's a cultural thing. We don't see it so much anymore. This is much more introduced as, here is your chance to make changes, to help everybody to do as a teamwork. You know, we want to improve our workplace. Let's do it together. Instead of, I'm the manager and I will tell you how to improve our workplace. Yeah. So I think this is also because it's, you know, the workplaces are changing, and the younger generation coming in is really keen on telling you how they feel, and they want this opportunity. They need to tell you how it's going, and they want the feedback as well. You know, and we say always, okay, people need to see the report. And you start comparing, okay, why are we, you know, looking this red? What about the other group? You know, my co-workers in a different division, you know, what's the difference? And they will communicate between each other. And this, of course, creates all this conversation between teammates, between managers, leaders. So this is really what we want to see.
And Sonja, can you benchmark against industry? So if I'm in banking and finance and I'm implementing this within the banking and finance, do you have a benchmark to how I can compare my industry to the industry of, say, a similar segment?
So you can compare yourself to other companies that is doing measurements with HR Monitor. You cannot benchmark it to specific divisions or companies, but you can do it between the smaller employee numbers. But you can, it's always then the question of other companies doing measurements in HR Monitor. And you can do this here also with the triangle, do all the workplace, do the only divisions. So you have different opportunities here.
Because that's always the thing that I'd find that executives want, is how are we comparing to everybody else? So that's part of that benchmark. I really like the color coding, makes it easy for extraction of data as well. Something that I've recently done with an energy and resources company. They use a survey company, won't mention the name, they do it every 6 months, but they connect it with their town hall meetings as well. So again, as part of that rhythm. And then what they do is they, as part of that town hall meeting, they do a what's hot, what's happening. So physically, let's talk about old world. So pre-COVID, they would get all 100 people together in the town hall. They'd share this information, and then they'd go through a facilitated process to ask people, what can we do to improve the scores? Yeah, they don't actually say that question, but that's fundamentally it. This year, what they did was they did their what's hot, what's happening via Zoom, which I facilitated.
Okay.
And again, just using breakout groups, putting people into those different groups. And then all of that information was actually then fed back as well. And they found that actually better because of high levels of engagement. Plus, because we were recording, people that missed the session could watch it.
Oh, yeah.
Anything that was captured in the chat area could then be used as part of the report distribution as well. So that was interesting. Okay, so I'm just also mindful of time because I'm really fascinated about that thing. So
I will stop sharing here my screen. So
okay, all right. So the other thing is, I noticed that with your so with the system that you have, it's a subscription-based system. Is that correct? So it doesn't matter.
Yes.
So normally most of the times these type of platforms are designed for larger multinational global corporates as well. But is the HR monitor system scalable? Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the smallest company doing measurements here is only 8 people.
Okay.
So it's 8 people and up to a few thousand. And of course, it depends a little bit, but it's you do a monthly subscription, and you can use the system as often, up to 12 times a year, but you don't need to do it 12. As I said, if you do it every 3 months or every 6 months, that's fine. Of course, up to you, but you have access and you can change your mind. Again, the flexibility. And especially if you get a red triangle and say, gosh, what happened here? And you don't have the answers, because sometimes you know exactly what's happening. If you don't, you can do a quick follow-up measurement the month after. And, because it's so easy, we see a lot of companies do that. So we want to keep the flexibility. So you get access to the system and you pay a monthly fee.
And I find the timeliness and the immediacy of the feedback is critical. So another organization that I'm working with, again, not using your system, but a system, they went through and surveyed and they got the report out 2 months afterwards. Which I thought was pretty quick. The interesting thing is the decode from the workplace was saying that 2 months is too long. Right?
Exactly. This is what we say.
Management, they just drag their feet. But that's, to me, that's already feedback in itself.
Yeah.
And so I think the sooner that people can get access to the reports, the sooner that they can say cascade down the key messages and then roll that out to the workplace, the better, I find.
Exactly. And this is, of course, you have the results immediately. As soon as the survey is done, you get access to the report. And you can immediately work through if there is something to work through, or just introduce it directly to the people. And that is very important. And this is, again, as you say, this is changing quite a bit. But this is also the new generation. We want information now, quickly, right away. 2 months? Do you remember what you did 2 months ago? No. Do you know how you felt then? It's like, this is the new thing. We want information quickly, and we kind of, we are pressing for it. So, and this is how you do it. You get it right away.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
I was going to say, and I think COVID has just accentuated that as well.
Yes.
Because,
absolutely,
people are wanting leaders that are more empathetic. They are wanting more touch points.
Yes.
And people do want to feel connected. And part of our survey identified was that the greater the density of population, right, the more stressed people were at home because of smaller living environments. Culturally, they may have had to care for different generations within the family.
Oh, yeah.
But if people are having children that need to be homeschooled and they're trying to balance work and homeschooling and noise and connection and right,
exactly,
and sort of sharing desk space. Yeah. Then it's about, there's more of a need to have more frequent feedback, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, and conversations.
Completely agree. Yes.
Yeah.
Again, COVID has pushed us to the new age, 2030. Yeah.
And again, there's a yin and a yang to everything, right? There's an up and a downside of things. And, you know, looking at the upside of COVID is that it really has, like from a HR professional, we really are in a fortunate position that this current COVID situation is giving us a snapshot to what 2030 is actually going to look like. So you know, what we're living through now at the moment is the reality of what 2030 is going to look like, which sounds a long way away, but 10 years away, it's only what, 120 pages. So it's only 120 pages. So
exactly.
Do you have any final words of wisdom that you might like to share with any HR professional, OD professional who's wanting to sort of implement some sort of engagement platform?
Well, I think what is most important, I think we covered it quite a bit. I mean, the implementation is key. Building this trust that you are implementing a software that you can trust, you know, that is untraceable, to be able to have a better conversation. Of course, we are not doing or telling companies that the system is all you need. You never lose. I mean, you always have to have the conversation face to face and, you know, the connection, as you said. But this is definitely a game changer to do it more frequently and shorter surveys, as you said. So I think, I think this is the future.
Cool. All right. Sonja, it's been nice to speak with you. It's been nice to connect on the other side of the world. And although we are on different parts of the world, Northern Hemisphere, Southern Hemisphere, business is the same. Business is business.
Exactly.
People just want to feel valued. They want to contribute. Then it's just about the organization and managers creating that environment for people to be able to do that. So, so thanks very much for that. And
my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
That's fine. And what we'll do is we'll put your details in the show notes below.
Okay.
And then if people want to, they can reach out to you and connect.
Yeah, great. Perfect.
Okay. Thanks very much.
I love this. Nice to see you. Okay. Thank you.